Whoa! I never thought about that!
You hear this question all the time, right? If a country is in debt or its people are struggling, why can't the government just, print more money? It seems like such a simple fix, but the answer? Well, it gets to the very heart of what money even is. So let's dive in.
Seriously, just picture it for a second. The government flips a switch on the printing presses and boom! Overnight, every single person is a millionaire. Your money troubles? Gone. You could buy that dream car, that perfect house, wipe out all your debts. Sounds pretty amazing, doesn't it? A perfect solution.
Okay, but here's the twist, and it is a huge one. That exact plan, the one that's supposed to make everybody rich, could actually make us all poorer. Yeah, you heard that right. Poorer. How on earth is that even possible? Well, to get our heads around that, we need to ask an even more basic question first.
So, what is money really? I know, it sounds like a ridiculously obvious question, but trust me, that piece of paper in your wallet, it's not what you think it is. Let's break it down.
See, money isn't valuable because of the special paper or the ink. Not at all. Its value comes from something else entirely. A shared promise. It's like this huge social agreement we've all made. We've all just collectively agreed that this piece of paper or these numbers on a screen actually represent a certain amount of value.
And because we all agree on this promise, we can do some pretty incredible stuff with it. We can trade it for groceries, pay for a ride, or, and this is a big one, we can save it, trusting that it'll still be worth something later. It's really the oil that keeps the whole engine of our complex economy running.
But, and this is the absolute key, that trust is everything. It's the whole foundation. The second people stop believing in that promise, the whole system just falls apart. And that currency you thought was so valuable, it literally becomes just decorated paper.
Okay, so if printing too much money is so dangerous, why do governments do it at all? It's a fair question, and the answer is they don't just do it on a whim. There are actually some very specific and pretty important reasons for it.
Think about it. Central banks, like the Federal Reserve here in the US, they might print money to give the economy a little boost, right? To help businesses out, create some jobs. Or if things are looking really rough, like during a financial crisis, they do it to try and stop a recession by getting people to spend and borrow again. And, there's also just the simple, practical reason. You got to replace all those old, torn, worn-out bills.
All right, now for the fun part. To really, really see why the whole unlimited money idea goes so wrong, let's just shrink the entire global economy down into a super simple little thought experiment.
I want you to imagine a tiny little island, completely cut off from the rest of the world. The economy here is about as simple as it gets, which is perfect for showing us what's actually happening under the hood.
Okay, so on our island, we have 10 people. The only thing of value, the entire wealth of the island, is 10 apples, and the total amount of cash floating around is exactly $10. The math here is super easy, right? 10 apples, $10. That means each apple costs $1. Simple. Everything's in perfect balance.
But then the island's leader decides, hey, let's make everyone richer, and they print another $10. So now you've got $20 on the island. But, and this is crucial, you still only have 10 apples. So what happens? Well, the price of an apple has to go up. It doubles to $2. Is anyone actually richer? Nope. The only thing that changed was the number on the price tag.
And that, right there, is the heart of inflation. That's all it is. It's when you have more and more money chasing the exact same amount of stuff. The money supply grows, but the supply of goods and services doesn't. So what happens? Prices just rise to soak up all that extra cash.
Now this little Apple Island isn't just some cute theory. This has happened for real. And when it does, the consequences they're almost impossible to imagine. Let's take a look at what happens when this spirals out of control in the real world.
So when a country just throws that basic rulebook out the window and prints money like there's no tomorrow, a few things happen, and they happen fast. First, prices don't just go up, they skyrocket. That's called hyperinflation. Next, your money loses value so fast that your life savings can become worthless in weeks or even days. And finally, people just completely lose trust in the money itself.
And the poster child for this, the most infamous modern example, has to be Zimbabwe in the late 2000s. The government was facing huge economic problems, and their solution was to fire up the printing presses. The result was absolutely catastrophic.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's mind-boggling. In the early 2000s, a loaf of bread was a few Zimbabwe dollars. Totally normal. By the middle of 2008, that same loaf of bread cost billions of dollars. By the end of that year, shopkeepers were changing prices several times a day. Literally, the money in your pocket was worth less with every hour that passed.
So, to try and keep up with this madness, the government just kept printing bigger and bigger bills. It ended with this, the $100 trillion note. $100 trillion! It sounds like an insane amount of money, right? But at the peak of the hyperinflation, this note, this $100 trillion bill, could barely buy you a loaf of bread.
So, this isn't a new problem. Economists have been studying this stuff for centuries. And what they've learned is that it all comes down to a really, really delicate balancing act.
There's a formal name for it. It's called the quantity theory of money. Sounds kind of fancy, I know. But the basic idea is exactly what we saw on our little Apple Island. It just says that if the amount of money in an economy grows faster than the amount of actual stuff there is to buy, then prices have no choice but to go up.
And here's the bottom line, the most important takeaway. Printing more money does not create more wealth. It just doesn't. Real wealth is the actual stuff an economy produces. You know, the apples, the cars, the software, the services. All printing money does is change the numbers we stick on the price tags.
A really good way to think about it is like a powerful medicine. If the economy is sluggish, a small controlled dose can help. But if you use too much, you cause a massive overdose. You create a totally different problem, the raging fever of inflation, which can be just as damaging.
And that's the job of central banks all over the world today. It's this incredibly critical task of managing the money supply. They're like the economy's doctor, always trying to find that perfect dose, just enough to keep things running healthy and stable, but not so much that they trigger that dangerous inflationary fever. So the next time you have a dollar bill in your hand, just take a second and really look at it. It's not the paper or the ink that gives it power. It's the silent, collective belief of millions of people that this piece of paper is worth something. It's a promise, one that is both incredibly powerful and incredibly fragile. Ultimately, what gives this piece of paper its value is just one thing: our trust.
And that's just one tiny big question. Imagine what's next. Subscribe, and let's keep wondering.